I remember the first time my family laughed at me like it was yesterday. I was just a kid, standing awkwardly in the doorway of our tiny living room, clutching a battered sketchpad. I told them I wanted to be a painter, to create worlds with my brush, to turn blank canvases into stories they could step into. My words were met with roaring derision. My father snorted. My mother shook her head. My siblings jeered before bursting into laughter. A painter? That's a joke. My brother sneered. You'll never make it. You're wasting your life on some childish dream. They told me I was foolish, that I was an embarrassment to the family. Every sarcastic remark, every dismissive comment felt like a punch to the gut, but I clung to that fragile spark of hope. I knew deep down I was born to create, yet they saw only futility. For years, I kept my dreams buried under layers of doubt and fear, trying to fit into a world that refused to see my worth. But inside, I burned with an unquenchable fire, a relentless drive to prove them wrong. That fire pushed me forward. I left home with nothing but my art supplies and a stubborn resolve. I endured months of rejection, failed gallery openings, empty pockets, nights spent sleeping in my car. Yet I refused to give up. I painted through the despair, pouring every ounce of my soul onto each canvas. I met mentors who believed in my vision. I learned. I grew. Slowly, my work found its voice, resonated with others, and began to gain recognition. The ridicule of my family echoed like distant thunder, but I kept walking my path. Years blurred into a relentless pursuit of excellence. I developed my style, experimented with new mediums, and pushed boundaries I once thought impossible. Eventually, my paintings caught the eye of collectors, galleries, and even a major museum. I became a celebrated artist. My work selling for amounts I'd never dared dream of. Success didn't come overnight, but it came steadily, surely, against all odds. And now I've returned home, not as the failed dreamer they once mocked, but as someone who turned barren soil into lush forests, wiped away the scars of my childhood with the lush, vibrant life I cultivated. I transformed a neglected patch of land into a sanctuary teeming with wildlife, blooming flowers, and towering trees. It was a project I dedicated years to, turning what was once wasteland into a living testament that perseverance, belief, and resilience could change everything. The day I decided to come back to my family's farm, I knew what I'd face. I knew their words, their doubts, their sneers. But I also knew I carried something they couldn't dismiss anymore. Proof. Proof that I was more than their bitter words, more than their tired stereotypes. Proof that dreams, no matter how ridiculous they seem, can blossom into reality if you nurture them. The house looked the same, worn, weathered, but familiar. As I stepped inside, my mother looked up from her chair, her eyes widening in shock. She looked at me as if seeing a stranger. No, not a stranger, but someone she'd once dismissed as a foolish child. My father's jaw tightened, and my siblings' faces flushed with a mixture of surprise and discomfort. I took a deep breath and then, with calm certainty, led them outside to the land I had transformed. It was breathtaking, vivid greens stretching as far as the eye could see. I fought through every doubt, every heartbreak, every moment I wanted to give up. And look what I've built. Not just a forest, but a testament that your words don't define me. My journey was never about proving you wrong. It was about proving to myself that I could do it, that I was worth more than the labels you placed on me. The silence that followed was deafening. My family watched, helpless and stunned, as the truth of what I'd accomplished sank into their consciousness. The once dismissive sneers faded into uncomfortable silence. Their expressions flickered between pride, guilt, and, at last, acknowledgement. That day, something shifted. Not just in them, but in me. I realized that life's biggest victories are rarely about the success itself. They're about the resilience to keep going when everyone else says you should quit. It's about turning the bitter taste of rejection into the sweet victory of self-belief. I had transformed the barren, ignored land into a sanctuary, and in doing so, I had redefined my worth beyond their shallow judgments. Standing there, watching their faces soften, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. I understood deeply that our true strength isn't measured by the opinions of others or the validation they give us. It's rooted in our refusal to let their doubts drown our dreams. That lesson, hard-won and fiercely earned, is what I carry in my heart every day. And as I left that day, I looked back at the thriving forest I'd created, a living, breathing symbol of hope and perseverance. And I whispered to myself, this is just the beginning. Because I knew now, more than ever, that no matter how fierce the doubts or how loud the ridicule, the fire inside us can forge miracles. And those miracles, born from relentless belief, will always outshine the shadows of rejection. This isn't just my story. It's a reminder to anyone listening, never give up on your dreams, no matter how impossible they seem. Success isn't about avoiding failure. It's about transforming every fall into a step forward. And when the world doubts you, remember, your greatest triumph lies in proving them wrong by simply becoming who you were always meant to be.